Now, outgoing US President Joe Biden has issued an official pardon for his son Hunter Biden, who was facing sentencing for 2 criminal cases despite previously ruling it out. The pardon ensures that Hunter Biden will not face sentencing for these offenses and removes the possibility of prison time. The presidential pardon angered both rivals and even his own allies, with some Democrats on the fence about this entire decision, while US President-elect Donald Trump has slammed Joe Biden's decision, calling it a miscarriage of justice, while Democrat Governor Jared Polis accused the president of putting his family above the nation. Now, remember, a presidential pardon is a formal forgiveness granted by the President of the United States for a federal crime. This act essentially removes the legal consequences of the crime and restores the rights of the individual, such as the right to vote, own firearms, or even hold public office. While Trump is scheduled to assume office as the 47th President of the United States in January, and of course, the question remains, can Hunter Biden's presidential pardon be revoked by Donald Trump's administration? Now, since the charges against Hunter Biden are federal in nature, Joe Biden was able to order a sweeping pardon for his son. The US Constitution gives the president powers to pardon federal charges, but there's no provision in the Constitution that allows any president to revoke or reverse the pardon. However, there is a gray area when it comes to the presidential pardon. It can be revoked if it has not been formally delivered. But can Donald Trump make his own criminal cases go away by pardoning himself? Because there's a lot of chatter about how Donald Trump is going to use this presidential pardon to defend his own cases. Well, the answer is that he cannot. Trump is the first former president convicted of a crime. Many of the charges against Donald Trump are state-level offenses, not federal charges. So the power to grant pardons only applies to federal crimes, not state crimes. Therefore, even if he were president, Trump would not be able to pardon himself for state charges. Remember, during his first presidency, US President-elect Donald Trump utilized his presidential power to grant 144 pardons and commutations, including some of his closest allies. These actions have been revisited as speculation rises over potential pardons in a second term for Donald Trump. Trump issued a slew of pardons in 2021, shortly before he left office. Trump even pardoned 74 people and commuted the sentences of another 70. And with that, let me also bring in our guest today. I'm joined in by Kit Chillett, who's the senior news editor at Business Insider. Many thanks to you, Kit, for joining in. Of course, I want to ask you that the president-elect Donald Trump has already called it as an abuse and miscarriage of justice, this whole presidential pardon coming from the outgoing US president. Tell us more about the reactions and how this entire decision has panned out across the US Congress, including the Democrats.
Yeah, so Joe Biden has for a long time said he wasn't going to pardon Hunter Biden. The White House obviously had to come out strongly to try and explain this U-turn. The White House told reporters that the prosecution of Hunter Biden had become politicized, and in fact, Hunter Biden was being targeted and singled out because of his family ties. Obviously, that wasn't a line that the Republicans and Donald Trump particularly followed. So Trump has called this pardoning an abuse and miscarriage of justice. We've also had strong comments from members of the House on the Republican side and senators who have said that trust in the justice system has been almost irreparably damaged by Biden and their use and abuse of it. But we've even seen strong comments from Democratic lawmakers who've called this move a setback, who've said that the decision puts personal interests ahead of a duty and further erodes America's faith in the justice system. So while the Biden administration has tried to kind of explain this away, the repercussions are likely to be quite strong. There's been very vocal comments against this move. And I think gearing up for the Trump's second term, where a lot of the Democratic focus is likely to be on the justice system and
right.
Trump's legal issues. I think this is seen as very bad timing for the Democrats and quite an easy area to focus on for the Republicans.
You know, that's why I want to ask you, since he's also being attacked by Democrats, Is this also going to undermine Democrats' defense of the justice system? Not to forget that Joe Biden himself has made a U-turn from his earlier stance, something you just mentioned as well.
I think it does. I mean, it definitely will have an impact. I think throughout Trump's term in office and into the Biden administration, the Democrats were positioning themselves and trying to show themselves as the party of justice in a way that Trump was willfully kind of overruling justice in his own interests and putting his own self before the US. And I think this move by President Joe Biden, will have quite a detrimental impact on the Democrats being able to, strongly push back when Trump or indeed his cabinet picks, his secretaries, come into power and maybe make moves that the Democrats would very much like to criticize.
Many thanks to you, Kit, for sharing your precious perspective with us here at World 360.